In post-war America and Britain in the late 1940s and early 50s, Americans and British were in a productive period with new technologies and medicines at the forefront of the nation's cultural changes for peace and prosperity. With this, agriculture, food products, and the advertising of those products began to flood the American market, and people bought and enjoyed foods, beverages, and a feeling of freedom after the Second World War. But with this upside came another problem. As food became more and more available, food companies began to produce high quantities of fast food and soft drinks with cheaper alternative grains and sugars. Also, fats were being targeted as a primary reason for heart disease, and substitute fats such as polyunsaturated margarine appeared for the first time in 1958. Then by the mid-1950s, the AHA, the American Heart Association, grew increasingly more and more worried about its ever-growing obesity rates in the US and began to target fat as the suspected issue with regards to obesity. Obesity, diabetes, and heart failure were becoming more and more common, and people were beginning to die from obesity and other related issues at a faster and younger rate. The American government became alarmed at the rate at which coronary-related diseases were taking men and women's lives at a young age and in greater quantities. Consequently, the government acted and used the AHA and other officials to try to find out the root cause of the problem. They concluded that by encouraging people to eat less fat in their diets, this would help aid people to lose weight, reversing the effects of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Studies and participants in the fight against the nation's crisis for heart disease had been calling for fatty foods such as lards, oils, and fats found in animals to be curbed, and cereals and carbohydrate replacements to be encouraged to be consumed by the public. To do this, an advertising campaign was launched to curb the intake of fat. As fat-free and diet became a terminology commonly used in the media and food advertising industry, the American and British population became vastly overweight, increasing the levels of obesity-related diseases in under a decade. They wanted the population to stay away from fats. This campaign lasted for decades until they turned to sugar as the culprit for becoming obese. But where and why did the post-war Americans and British go so wrong?